Master MB Gavin Williamson, welcome to SAB TV.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
First, what is this motion and what was your aim of tabling it at the British Parliament?
Well, for me, Britain and Somaliland have had a relationship that has gone for being a deep one for many decades. And for me, there's been a real injustice in the fact that Somaliland has not been recognised as the independent state that it is and it functions to be. So I think it's absolutely vital that we're having this debate in the British Parliament. And I want to see us taking those steps to deliver international recognition for Somaliland.
As we know, formally other MPs drafted a motion on Somaliland's recognition. So what this motion differs or varies from the previous ones?
Well, of course, what we're hoping to do is continue to ratchet pressure on the British government to take those steps to recognise Somaliland. In itself, it doesn't deliver recognition. But what I do hope it does, it demonstrates the real support for Somaliland. And what we want to see is the British government changing its position and moving to a situation where it starts to put the structures in place to sort of deal with Somaliland as an independent country, but also to lead the debate across the world to say that this is the right thing to do. So it's not just ultimately Britain that recognises Somaliland, but it's the United States, other European countries, and many more.
If the other members of the Parliament vote in favour in this motion, what does it mean for Somaliland? And will it bring any change to UK's position on Somaliland and its foreign policy as well?
Well, this in itself doesn't bring a change in policy by the British government. But what it does do is it starts to build the pressure on the British government to change. And already in the discussions that I've had with whether it's the Foreign Secretary and so many others, there's a real understanding developing that more needs to be done. And actually, the current status quo that has been in existence since 1960 of just recognising the Federal Republic of Somalia is not the right approach. But we need to push the arguments forward. And I hope it won't just be me making that debate, an argument, but there'll be many other MPs as are also doing that.
Well, UK government clearly its position on Somaliland. So what are the barriers or obstacles of not directly recognizing Somaliland?
Well, there is obviously some international resistance to recognising Somaliland. But as I've looked at it, the legal definition of recognising Somaliland, there's a very strong legal case for recognising Somaliland. Even if you go all the way back to when Somaliland originally became independent in 1960, there's a whole set of legal arguments that you could put. There's actually the act of union between Somaliland and Somalia wasn't properly completed and done. But most importantly is recognising the reality on the ground, the fact that you're a nation that holds free and fair elections, you're a nation that delivers, stability and the rule of law. These are all the things that are about nationhood. And Britain needs to seize the opportunity to make these arguments, not just here in the British Parliament, but also in the United Nations as well. So we get to a place where it isn't just Britain recognising Somaliland, it's actually the whole world recognising Somaliland.
In the Horn of Africa region, there is a great interest from the superpowers. After Brexit, is UK eyeing the importance or the strategic location of Somaliland?
I think we all recognise Somaliland's strategic importance, but what I think is more important to recognise is what's been achieved by the Somaliland people. Despite often the odds being against so many Somalilanders, actually what's happened over the last 30 years is the construction of this amazing nation where, democracy has been able to flourish. And those values, which are the same values as what we have here in the United Kingdom, are values that we should be doing everything that we can defend. So is Somaliland important? It's incredibly important, because actually it can be an example to other nations, other neighbours, to say what can be done and what can be achieved if they follow the same route. And that is the real strategic importance to Somaliland, because it can show others a way to a better future.
Did you just draft this motion by yourself, or there are other sides like Somaliland officials pushed you to do so?
This is something, this is a member of parliament, I drafted myself, and it's something that I feel very passionately about. I remember the privilege of visiting Somaliland and getting to meet the president and so many Somalilanders who are doing so much for the nation. And I've something to feel very passionately about, and something that I want to do everything I can do to deliver this change, because I think it will benefit many millions of people in Somaliland. And I think Britain owes a debt to the people of Somaliland, who in times of crisis in Britain, when we faced world wars, actually so many Somalilanders have come along and actually supported Britain and helped Britain. And I think it's important that we pay that debt of honour back.
Lastly, Mr. MB Gavin Williamson, if I give you the chance, what's your message to the British government and to the people of Somaliland?
Well, my message is simple. Here we have a nation that has done so much and achieved so much, often against incredibly difficult odds. It's now time that everything that we can do as a British government, we throw behind in terms of supporting Somaliland to be able to take its next steps to greater prosperity and actually continuing to be that beacon of light in Africa of what can be achieved. That's what the British government can support the Somaliland people to deliver. That's what I hope that we can do. But in terms of the Somaliland people, many Somalilanders actually live here in Britain. There's an amazing Somaliland diaspora here in the United Kingdom. And actually, our two nations have worked together for a century and more. And I think it's really important as we look to the future is to develop that relationship, make it stronger, make it richer, but also make new history together.
Thank you, Master MB Gavin Williamson, who's joining me from London.